What's going on, fellow web developers? My name is Tyler Potts, and in today's video we're going to be building this weight tracker. So if you're trying to lose some weight or even put on some weight, we can use this weight tracker to track that every single day. So let's just say currently I am 68.3 is what I am in weight. So let's just say add. You can see we get this, there's a graph with a point on it, and we get the history. Now this is designed to be daily, so you're going to see here it's going to say the 8th of the 7th, but obviously normally you would be doing this once a day or maybe even once a week tops, and you can even change this, say once a week or last 7 weeks or whatever you want to do. But anyway, let's just say 68. So let's say next up I've put on a bit of weight. I'm now 685. Add weight. You can see this graph then shows that weight, and you can see the date. Obviously that would be the thing that changed, but that's fine. We can then say, let's say we go up 2 more points here. So there you go. We're going up in a steady climb, but let's say we go down 1 for the week after. There you go. So you can see it's changing. Let's just change it up a little bit more, and let's just say we had a massive meal, and there you go. You can see there's a bunch of different things there. One more, let's say 69.1, and there you go. You can see here this is the 7-day graph. So now if we add more to it, you can see it'll just change. It won't add enough for one, it'll just change because this only uses the last 7 entries we have, and you can see this is the whole history. So this is the latest one, and this will be the oldest one here. So we're going to be building this weight tracker inside of Vue JS, Vue 3 using the composition API, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So without further ado, let's get on with the tutorial. Okay everybody, so I have a blank folder opened up in Visual Studio Code. So what I'm going to do is I am going to open up the terminal here, and I am going to run a command to generate our project. So let's just close that sidebar for now. And what I'm going to run is npm create feat at latest, and we're just going to say template. Oh, we also need to give it a directory, so we're going to do dot. Dot means do it inside the current directory. And then this template, we're going to choose Vue JS. I'm going to type Vue, and this is going to create us a Vue project ready. So in here, I'm just going to give it a package name of weight tracker. And there we go. Now we can run npm install. But before we do that, I want to also install something else. I want to install chart.js as well. So we're going to say npm chart.js, and that's going to install for us this chart here. You can see it on the right. So that's what we're going to be using there. So there we go. Now we can just run npm install, although I believe this is already installed yet, because when you install something, cool. Clear that. And there you go. So now we have a project size. So if you look here, we've got a bunch of different things. Now we're just going to do some cleanup. We're going to go in our app. We'll delete all of this. We're going to delete these 2 as well. I'm going to delete the styling for now, and we're just going to leave this template with a H1 that just says hello world. We're going to delete the components folder and the assets file for now. In this tutorial, we're just going to be focusing on the app, the one file component here, and yeah, so let's so that's done. Now let's run the server. So we're going to say npm run def just to get it working. I'm going to close this sidebar because it's no longer needed. And there you go. You can see that's updated with just our hello world in mind. Okay, cool. So let's start off by importing a few things. So the first thing we want to import, I do not want to do an export, thank you. I just want to say import, and we're going to import ref. We're going to have a shallowRef. Now, I'll explain or show you the difference between using a shallowRef and a ref later. We're going to use computed, watch, and nextTick. These are all the things we're going to need to use from the Vue package. So ref is going to be how we get our references or our variables, essentially our reactive variables. A shallowRef is something that only looks at the top level of the object, or let's say if you've got a reference of an array, it's only going to look at the top level, so the actual array, and nothing inside of it. We then got computed, which is going to be used for basically computing some refs into other variables. We then got our watch, which we're going to use to check when something changes, and then we've got nextTick to run once a tick later than everything else. We're then going to get our chart. So we're going to say import chart from, and we're going to say chart.js/auto. So by using auto, we don't have to import a bunch of extra classes. It just works out the bat. But if you want more customization, I suggest looking into that. So we're going to need a few variables. So the first one is going to be our weight, which is going to be a reference of an empty array. We're then going to need our weight chart element, which is going to be equal to a null ref again. So this is where we're going to store our canvas. We're going to use a weight chart. And this is actually going to be our chart.js. So this is where we actually need a shallow ref here. And we're just going to set it to null to start with. The shallow ref is needed because if we don't, we're going to have some, it's going to basically, when we try and update our chart, it's going to throw some errors. So using a shallow ref will fix that because it will stop the reactive nature of the object. We then need the weight input, which is going to be the input form we get. This is going to be just a ref, which starts off at 0. We could probably give it a default value of, let's say, 60, which would be like kilos. We could do 60.0, which is a fair number, I guess. And finally, we're going to use our current weight. Now, this is going to be computed because we're going to get this from our weight array. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an arrow function in here. And we're going to return weights.value.sort. So we're going to sort this A and B. And we're going to sort it by our date because we're going to have a date in here. Minus A.date. And we're going to get the first object from that. Or we're just going to return an object with the weight of 0 because that's going to be the default weight there. And that's fine. So that's going to be our current weight. So if we haven't inputted any weight yet, it's just going to give us a weight of 0. Could show null, but for now we'll just say 0. Alright, so our next function is going to be a constant called addAweight. And we're going to use this as an arrow function again. And what we're going to do is we're going to say weights.value.push. And we're going to say our weight, which is going to be weight_input.value. And a date, which is going to be a new date. So we're going to get the current date, and then we're just going to get the timestamp of that. So we're just going to get a timestamp to make it easier to use, especially when it comes to actually comparing the dates. So once we've got our add weight, what we want to do is we want to create a watch. Now this is where a lot of functionality comes in for the value, but for now let's just leave it at that, and we'll actually add in some markup in here to actually use, so we can actually see some stuff on screen. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a main as our wrapper here. And I'm going to have a H1 which just says weight tracker. Again, this is, you can style this however you want. I'm just going to have it styled as normal. We're then going to have a diff with the class of current on it, and we're going to have a span in there. Now this is going to have our current weight.weight. And there you go, you're going to see a 0 there. There we go, never mind. Alright, so under here we're just going to have a small, and inside the small tab we're going to say current weight in kilograms. And that should just show underneath this. Current weight in kilograms, perfect. Now, under this, we're going to have our form. Now, we want a submit here. Submit.prevent is equal to add weight. So, we're going to use this function. And inside of here, we're basically just going to say, we're going to have an input of type number. We don't need a name or a thing. We're going to give it a step. So, this is going to be how much you can increment it up or down. So, we're going to say 0.1 is going to be the step. And then we're going to say theme model is equal to weight input. Now, we can then do one more underneath. We're going to say input of type submit, and the value is just going to be add weight like that. And there you go. So if we actually do this now, and we said 60, you can see this number up here actually changed. Our current weight is 60. If we then added, let's say 63, you can see our current weight is 63 because it's the latest one we've inputted. And then you can see 68 as well, and so forth. Just want to add this little stopper here because it looks neater to me. Okay, cool. So now we're going to actually start work on our chart. So we're going to have just a diff, and we're basically just going to put a phi if on here. I'm just going to say phi if we have some weights, and the weight dot length is greater than 0. So as long as it's greater than 0, we can show weights. So there you go, you can see it show weights. We refresh, you can see it doesn't show. If we add weights, you can see it now says show weight. So that's what the fee if is doing there. Now we're going to have a H2. Our H2 is going to say last 7 days. Underneath this, we're just going to say .canvas box, and this is going to be the div that holds our actual canvas, where we're going to set the reference. So up here we created this reference of null. Now we can actually bind this to this canvas, so when this exists, this value will then equal weight chart element. So here this will equal this canvas here once it exists. And there you go, that's all we need to do for that bit. So we'll actually have this show when we actually have some weights. Now underneath the canvas box, I've just noticed I spelled canvas wrong as well, there we go. Underneath the canvas box, we're going to have the weight history. Now in the weight history, we can just put a H2 that says weight history. There you go, you can see that there. There's the canvas as well, which is hidden, pushing it down. And then in here, we're going to have a UL. Inside there, we're going to have an LI. And inside the LI, we're going to have a span and a small tag. This is going to be a looped element. So we're going to loop over our weight. So we're going to say fee for weight in weights. We're then going to put inside of our span, we're just going to say weight.weight. And after this, we'll just put kilograms so we know which way it is. And then inside of our small, we're going to say new date, and we're going to pass the weight.date to locale date string as an object, and that should give us back a neat date. There you go, you can see the 8th of the 7th 2022, which is perfect. Let's just break these down so it looks a bit neater. And there you go. So if we add another one, let's say 63.5, add weight, you can see we've got 60, 60 and 63.5. So you can see that is showing there. So the next thing we want to do is obviously get our chart to display and show what we want on screen. So that's where this next step comes in. We want to basically watch for when the weight value changes. So in here, we're going to say watch. We're going to pass through the weights. So this is what we want to watch. So the reference we want to watch is the weights. We then want to say our new weights. So this, because once it changes, this will give us the new weights and the old weights. But we're just going to look at the new weights. And in here we want to get we want to create a new array of our weights, because we don't want to manipulate or change our current weights, because that will throw an error and a repeated error. So what we want to do is just say new weights is in this now WS. So let's just log WS for now and see how it works. So in here, let's just add a weight. Nothing actually happened. Let's just go 63, add a weight, and nothing seems to be happening. And that is because we need to say deep is true as an option after this new weight. So the third parameter is a bunch of options for watch, and we can say deep true. This means instead of just checking if you say weight.value is equal to, we're going to actually check inside of it. So if it's an array and you push to an array, that won't show on the top level. You actually have to search deeper into this weights array to actually see that. And that's where this is going to come in. Now, if we save and we add a weight, you can see we get this proxy, which gives us, if you look there, you can see we got our weight and our date. So the next thing we want to do is once we've got our weight, so once we've set a weight, that means this will now be in play and we'll be able to see this. So we want to actually have a look at this weight chart element. So let's just log the weight chart element quickly. So let's add a weight, and you'll see we get a reference undefined and nothing's there. If we add another one, you should see we can now see there's a canvas in there. So you can see here we've got canvas, which is actually there. The reason it's not showing for the first time we click add new weight is because this hasn't rendered just yet. So to get it to render, we need to wait another tick. And to wait another tick, we can use this nextTick variable that Vue provides us. So in here, let's now change our console log. So let's just refresh. go back to console, and let's just say nextTick is going to be an arrow function, and then we're just going to console log it inside of here. So now if we add a weight, you can see we get the canvas immediately on the first add of the weight. So that's exactly what we want to do here. So in this nextTick, let's create our canvas. So what I want to do, I want to say weight chart dot value. So we're going to be setting this weight chart to equal this shallowRef. It needs to be a shallowRef, and I'll show you the difference in a second. And in here, we're just going to set this equal to a new chart, and we're going to get the weight chart element dot value dot get context, and we're going to say 2D. I'm then going to pass through a type, which is going to be the line. And then under the line, we're going to have our data. Now, inside of our data, we need labels. And we're going to basically use some mapping here to get the date, just the date. So what we're going to say is WS, so the object we created up here. We're going to basically just say dot sort. So we need to make sure they're in order first. We need to say A, B is equal to A dot date minus B dot date. And then we can map through them. So we just want to say weight, or W, is equal to new date, W dot date to local strings. That's just going to get us date. So let's break this down so you can read this a bit easier. So what we're doing is we're saying we're getting the weight. So we're going to map through each of the weights in here. We're going to get that weight. We're going to pass it into a date, and we're only going to return back. So by only putting this, we're only going to return back the date as in this array. So that's going to give us an array of labels. Underneath labels, we then want our data sets. And a data set is an array of objects we can use. And the first one is going to be label, and we're going to call it weight. We're then going to say data, WS, and we're going to do the exact same thing here. So we're going to copy this. However, we're not going to return the what date this time. What we're going to do is we're going to return w.weight, because we only want the weight value in this array. We're then going to give it some options. So we need to give it a background color. And we're just going to set this to RGBA 255, 105, and 180. You can choose whatever color you want. I'm going to put this at 0.2 because this is going to be the fill color. We're then going to get our border color, and we're going to set this to RGB 255, 105, and 180 again. But this time it's going to have an opacity of just 1. We could probably just put this as an RGB instead. We then want our border width, and you can set this. Again, you can change these up to make it fit your style, but I'm just going to say border width of 1. And I'm going to say fill true. If fill is false, you will not see the background color. And then under this, we can then pass one more option, which is going to be, another options, which is going to say responsive is true because we want it to change if we change screen sizes, and maintain aspect ratio to false because we don't mind the aspect ratio. You can, again, you can mess around with these. It's up to you what you do. So let's see what happens. Let's say we add 60. You can see we get this. But what happens if we want to say we want 61 now? You're going to see there's an error. You can't actually update the chart by creating a new chart. How we have to do this is by doing something else. So above the nextTick, we're going to want to basically say if we have a weight chart.value. So if we have a weight chart.value, we want to say weight chart.value .data.label. So we're actually targeting, if you can see here, weight chart.value .data.labels, and we want to set that equal to this. We're going to basically just re-catch this function here. So we're just going to pass back all of this. We can also bring this down a little. And then we want to only get the last 7. So what we want to do is slash slice minus 7. So that's going to get us the last 7 values we enter. We then want to copy this, bring this down, and we want to change labels to be data sets. We're going to get number 0 and then .data. So that's going to get us this data right here. And we're going to set that equal to the same thing, except we're going to get the w.weight. And there you go. So we're going to get the weight. And finally, we just need to update the official chart. So we're going to say weight chart.value.update. And that's a function built in to chart.js for us. We then want to return, because once we've done all this, we don't want the next tick or anything else to call. So we're just going to return out of the whole watch function. Now, if we refresh, and let's say we say 60, add weight, you can see it shows. But now if we want 61, you can see we start getting it. And you can see we've got this pink background here. If you was to turn off the fill, it would remove that. Let's say we want 63 now. You can see it's a bit of change. We're going to go down to 62. Then let's say we have a bigger change. And then we go to 61. And there you go. You can see the changes is changing pretty well. So that's all good. We have our weight history and all of that. So now, guys, for the last part of this, we need to style this up. So you can see we've got all the functionality we need. But it's time to actually make it look pretty. And to do that, we need to go down to the bottom. And I'm going to paste in a bunch of styling. I'm going to go over to styling. But I just wanted to basically show you this here. And there you go. Now we have a nice styled thing. And let me explain the styling. And the reason I don't write the styling out is because it takes a very long time and it's not the point of this tutorial. However, you can see here we target everything and we make sure we reset the margin, the padding, the border sizing and the border box. And we set the font family to default. Just so you know, if you do want this styling, you can actually go over to the GitHub repository. The link will be down below, and actually download this styling from there. We can also get the body. We're going to set it to a grey. We're then going to get the main and add some padding around it. We're then going to get our H1s and make them bigger, centered, and have some margin below. Same with our H2. We're going to do a similar thing. All our H2s here. So let's just say add weight. You can see last 7 days and weight history there. And there you go. You can see that changing. And it looks pretty cool. So we're going to get our current one. We're going to basically pull it in a box of 200 by 200. We're going to center it. We're going to make sure everything's in the middle. We're going to make sure the background color is white. Add a border radius to make it round. A box shadow, so you've got a slight shadow under here and a pink border around there. I don't know why that says HWB. That should just say hot pink, but that's fine. There you go. There's the RGB value. And then margin, we're going to center it with auto and push down here. We're then going to get our current span, which is this. Make it bigger, bolder, and add some margin below it. And then our small, we're just going to change it to be a grey italic. Then we're going to get our form, which is this section here. We're going to add in display, a margin bottom, some border radius, overflow, and a transition of 200 milliseconds. So you get this sort of effect here when we use this focus within and hover. So if you focus on it, you'll see it stays. And also if you hover on it, it also does the same styling too. Same with the button, you can hover over it to do this. And there you go. There's the input styling here. So it's just simple resets, a background color of white, and then some flex. And the same for our button here. You can see there's a bit more. There's a bit of border left and stuff like that. We're also using some padding. We then go down to form, input, type, submit, hover, and then we've got some more stuff there. So border, left, color, background color, white, and that's when we hover over this button to make it change white. We get our canvas box. We give it a max width of 720. So you can see here, once we get to a certain point, it's going to stay on that left side. And we basically give it some box shadow, some margin, and the rest of it. We then get our list. We reset our list so it doesn't have any styling. And then we display it as a flex and make sure that off on the other side. We add some hover effects and we used nth child to change it to odd and even. So you can see there's changes in colors every even number. And finally, we've got our web history stuff here. So this is actually inside here, just simple text styling there. So that is all there is for this simple app. Okay guys, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed the video and you've learned something new. If you have, don't forget to leave a thumbs up. If you're new around here, smash that subscribe button. And if you've got any questions at all, drop them in the comment section below. If you get stuck and you need help with code, then head over to Discord. The link is in the description. Hop in there and ask for some help and someone will try and help you as best they can. And finally guys, I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching and peace out.